What's up, Thrive Youth? We believe that each and every one of you guys has a story to tell, a faith to live out, and an impact to make right now. If this is your first time here with us, yo, what's up? Dude, we are so glad to have you. Hey, be sure to leave a message in the chat, whether that be there or down there, and just let us know that you're here and that it's your first time, because we have a free gift that we want to send you just for hanging out with us. If you don't have a comment section around you, leave us a DM at our Instagram at MRCThrive. And if you aren't new and just want to say what's up, send us a DM there too. In a few moments, one of our worship leaders, Abby, is going to come and she's going to lead us in worshiping through song. And then after that, Johnny's going to come and give his message for week 3 of LoveHate. With that all being said, come on, let's stand up and let's sing together.
Hey guys, Johnny here. And real quick question. When is the last time that you went to a mall? Now, go with me on this. I know that malls were already dying before the COVID thing, and who knows if they are really going to come back afterwards, but I still think that they are fascinating places. Besides being the absolute best place for people watching, malls are a place where hundreds of very different brands, completely different with completely different vibes, all sit side by side. Maybe you've never thought about brands having vibes or personalities or reputations, but they do. Think about it. There is a difference between Nike and Vans, right? Even though they both sell shoes, you instantly know when you walk by which is which. Or what about Tilly's and H&M? They literally sell the same products to the same age group, but there's just something different about them. Now, here is why I think that is fascinating. Companies spend billions of dollars every year trying to control those brands' reputations. The look, the smell, the thing that they're known for, they're not accidents. They are carefully decided. And here's what I mean. I am going to read you a reputation. You tell me what brand it is. 2-day or less lightning fast shipping. Amazon. Lowest prices, always. Walmart. Best chicken sandwich ever? Yeah, definitely Chick-fil-A. And if you say Popeyes, you're wrong. Here is the point. Companies hire hundreds of people and spend billions of dollars trying to shape something that every one of us has, and most of us spend very little time thinking about: our reputation. Our reputations are made up of all sorts of things and bring out all kinds of assumptions about who we are. Just think about the various groups in your schools and the assumptions that you've made about people who are part of those groups. See, assumptions happen when you fill in the blank with your opinion. It's like this. Homeschool kids are like blank. Public school kids, they're blank. Those football guys or those cheerleaders, they're blank. Now, even though we don't say them out loud, or at least we shouldn't, we all tend to fill in those blanks about other people to assume that we know what to expect from them now and what they're capable of in the future, and how they are going to respond in every situation. In other words, how we fill in the blanks now determines what we expect from them next. Whether we know that person or not doesn't really even matter. We know their reputation, or we build one for them in our minds based on a single action or a single person in their group. And it's not just a teenager thing, this is a human thing. We all do it. So where do these assumptions come from? Well, I think that they come from a lot of places, but two of them stand out the most to me. Our experiences is the first one. We have experiences of someone like them who said or did something to us, and we use those experiences to prejudge what that new person is like. Or we assume because of our insecurities. The person that we are filling in the blank about has something we want or we wish we had. They have the starting position on the team or the house that our family could never afford, and frankly, it's annoying. And we automatically assume the worst about them because they remind us of how far we feel from being the best. Our limited experiences and insecurities cause us to fill in the blanks and convince ourselves that we know way more about somebody than we actually do. That we can literally predict their future. It's kind of illogical when you think about it. And it can be a problem if we really want to be known for love rather than hate. Because if we're honest, way too often, we don't fill in the blank with something nice. The ironic part is that we hate it when someone does this to us. But how do we resist the temptation to do that very same thing to other people? We're going to take a look at a moment from Jesus' life that might be able to help us. Jesus was in the middle of this crazy tense encounter with some of the religious leaders in Israel in the time. These guys were called the scribes and the Pharisees. And they were a big deal. And not just in the religious sense, but actually as political leaders and as key influencers in the town and in the cities. The thing about them, though, is that they had this brand, this reputation of self-righteousness that set them apart from everyone else. So when Jesus came around and started spending time with the people that the religious leaders had branded as sinners or outsiders, people that weren't following the religious rules, they all got tense. These leaders actually started trying to catch Jesus off guard with questions that they hoped would prove that he was just a phony. They wanted him to slip up and answer something in a way that took away his credibility and made him look bad. They wanted to ruin his reputation. Picture this with me. Jesus is in this big, huge, open area in front of the ginormous temple to God. He has this huge crowd around him, and he's teaching these people all about the God who loves them and has been guiding and protecting their people, the Jewish people, for thousands of years. All of a sudden, these religious leaders burst through the crowd and in the shadow of the holy temple with a woman that they had caught in an R-rated situation. They dragged her in front of Jesus to see how he would handle the punishment. And I think what unfolds here shows us a different way to live. Instead of filling in the blanks of other people's reputations, check this out. As he was speaking, the teachers of the religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. "Teacher," they said to Jesus, "this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say?" They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him. Now don't miss this. The text says that the woman had been caught in the act. She was literally committing adultery when the leaders found her. And we can assume that she was already pretty humiliated, and the law of God actually demanded that the people responded by literally throwing rocks at her until she died. The religious leaders wanted to make Jesus choose in front of a crowd of people. Was he going to overlook this woman's obvious sin and ignore the law of Moses? This would take away his credibility as the teacher and anger the religious leaders. Or would Jesus allow her to be stoned, causing the crowd to turn on him? It was a trap. The leaders knew it was a trap. That was the point. But let's look at what happens next. But Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust with his finger. They kept demanding an answer. So he stood up again and said, "All right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone." Then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, "Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you?" "No, Lord," she said. And Jesus said, "Neither do I. Go and sin no more." Talk about a mic drop. I am not even sure that we can fully understand the tension of this moment. These religious leaders who built their brand, their reputation on appearing better than everyone else and pointing out the sins of other people, they're totally put in their place. Basically, Jesus is saying, you guys are so quick to point out what everyone else has done wrong. What about you? Have you ever done anything wrong? Then one by one, these leaders realized that their plan had backfired. Jesus kindly and lovingly releases the woman who is literally afraid for her life and tells her to go in freedom and live her life differently. Can you imagine? And don't miss this, everyone here was guilty of something, both the religious leaders and this woman. And Jesus doesn't just expose the religious leaders' hypocrisy and walk away. No, he still rightly calls out what the woman did as sin. However, Jesus had a message for both of them. What is possible for your future isn't determined by your past. Not if you're a Pharisee, and not if you're a woman in sin. Both of you are guilty, yet both of you are free to go. Both of them had a reputation for being one way, and both of them were able to choose to live differently than when they arrived. Jesus challenges the leaders to examine themselves. Were they perfect? If not, and spoiler alert, they weren't, then they needed to take a look at what needed to change within themselves first before judging others and filling in the blanks of their story. And the woman, he challenged her to change by saying, go and sin no more, because no matter what her reputation was, Jesus knew that change was possible for her. He was about to give her a whole new story. Guys, this was such a Jesus move. He changed everything because he responded in love to everyone in the situation. And that's exactly what you and I should be about too. But isn't it true that sometimes we're more on brand, more aligned with the religious leaders? Don't we too often fill in the blanks about other people based on their behavior that one time or the thing they did? Don't we tend to assume we already know what's going to happen next in their story because of what has happened before, or even what we think they may have done? Jesus' approach to the situation in the story teaches us something entirely different. The woman who had a brand, a reputation for being bad, who everyone judged based on this one really terrible thing that she had done, Jesus sees her as more than just that one thing. He believed that something was possible in her future, no matter her past. He didn't fill in the blank for her. Jesus didn't write a story about who she was at her core, entirely built upon this one terrible thing that she had been caught doing. Jesus saw her as someone who needed to experience his grace and his love. Jesus proved that we are more than the assumptions or judgments of others that others make of us. See, we can have forgiveness and grace, a second chance because of his love for us. And we can extend that same forgiveness and grace and love to others too. Now, what if this was the approach that you and I started to take when forming our opinions of other people? What if we believed that anyone could surprise us and be redeemed to something beautiful? What if instead of filling in the blanks with assumptions and judgments, we chose to believe that Jesus can radically change anyone? What if we chose to let love fill in the blank? What if we let Jesus-like love and mercy fill in the blanks for other people? This would change a lot about the way that we think about and treat other people, wouldn't it? And not only that, this would also change a lot about the way we think of ourselves, too. We may wind up realizing that we're not as terrible as others have made us feel, or maybe that we're not as perfect as we may think. There is something both encouraging and humbling about Jesus' approach. It puts all of us on the same level as a person God loves, and as a person Jesus died on the cross to forgive and set free. And we are not just the sum total of our actions. In other words, when we fill in the blanks with judgment or hate, we are only seeing part of a person. We only focus in on their actions. Whatever they did that was wrong or something we don't like, we limit them to that blank. But when we fill in the blank with the love of Jesus, we open the door for something more. We can see people as someone who can be radically changed by an encounter with the author of all of our stories, Jesus Christ. When it comes to assumptions and judgments, either against you or against someone else, take these 2 steps from this encounter and change your approach. Step 1, stop and think about how others have filled in the blanks about you. When you make an assumption about someone, about how they are or what they're going to do, stop. Stop and think about your own life. How have people underestimated you? How have they judged you? How have you experienced the other side of someone filling in the blank? Step 2, treat other people the way that Jesus treated the woman, how he's treated you, with grace and love, assuming that your best days can actually be ahead of you. Let Jesus fill in their blank. Think about how you've wrongly filled in the blanks for someone else. Who is someone that you know, but you really don't? Who have you filled the blanks in for in a negative way without learning the whole story of them? You guys, it is Jesus' job to fill in the blank. Our job is to love our neighbor. When we make assumptions, throw shade, hate on, or judge others, we are filling in the blanks and finishing someone else's story right then and there. The Pharisees tried to do that. They filled in this woman's blanks with adulteress, sinner, lawbreaker, dead woman. Jesus made it so clear with the woman and with the Pharisees and with nearly every single person that he met that he gets to fill in the blank. When we let Jesus fill in the blank, there is always hope for change. When we choose to follow Jesus' example here and take these steps, we are choosing to let love fill in the blank instead of our quick and shallow assumptions and judgments about who they are now and who they can become. Just imagine with me, what would happen if this is how we spent our time forming opinions of those around us? Instead of assumptions, stereotypes, and preconceived notions based on a part of a person, we would be people who believed everyone is worthy of love and has hope for a great future. If this is what Jesus is about, who wouldn't want to be a part of that? We can meet people wherever they're at, whatever they're doing, however they've messed up, and just love them. You guys, when we bring others to Jesus and let him fill in the blank, anything can happen. Jesus says that our reputation should be one that we are known by how radically we love people. Imagine if when you said that you were a Christian, the image that people got in their head was one of incredible, unimaginable love and not the also common image of hate. Our story, The story of people who call themselves Christ followers is the best story in history. It's a 4-word story. Love God and love people. That is our story. That is our brand. That should be our reputation. Jesus, you are so good. Thank you that your brand is one that is greater than anything we can create on our own, Lord. May your reputation be one that is known throughout the world, Lord. May our actions and our deeds not define us, and Lord, may we not let the actions of others define them, Lord. We want to be people who love first and point to you, Jesus. God, may your mercy and your grace reign throughout all of our interactions with others, and that you may be the King. We love you. We ask this in your name. Amen. See you guys soon.
Guys, it's been so great hanging out with you guys and singing with you all, and now I can't wait to see y'all in person. Now we're all going to hop onto a Zoom call chat, which is just a glorified big FaceTime together. So there is a link that should be in the comment section, either there or there. And if you don't have that, be sure to just text any one of your leaders and we will be sure to get that to you guys. Guys, I love y'all. I can't wait to see y'all soon.